Hey everybody, we're back. So this is the microcontroller that makes up the sequencer for my C-130 project that I did about 5 years ago. And all this is explaining right here is the components. My friend Berger designed this for me and I gave him the specs of what it needed to do. But essentially, this microcontroller takes a signal from the receiver of my radio and tells the gear to go up and down. And this is the driver, what made up the drivers that actually put the voltage, 12 volts, to the motors that ran the landing gear up and down. And you can see this wasn't really expensive to do. This is just the raw material parts. And I tell you, this controller works so good because it controlled the gear motors and the landing gear doors and everything. So this was my old system. And you can see that I had a cam in there, and that cam would touch some contactor switches. Those contactor switches would run my landing gear up and down. And essentially, it was just all done mechanically. There was no electronics. And here it is with the microcontroller, actually, the sequencer mounted, and me just wiring it up for the first time. Remember, this took a input from my receiver. So when you flip the gear down button, it would tell the controller to run the gear down. And when you flipped it up, it'd run it up. This is what the actual gear unit looked that would mount inside the airplane so I could take it out and service it. So this was held in by 8 632 bolts and bolts and nuts. This is the 3D CAD drawing I did of the layout. This shows the primary limit switches and then the over travel limit switches. I still had fuses in there just in case something overheated or binded. And I mean, the system worked perfect. I mean, it was just really, really slick. So when you look at the actual controller itself, you know, he designed the printed circuit board and all the components. He did all the soldering and filled the printed circuit board up with, you know, all the stuff. I had my inputs and outputs for the motors. And so if you look here at the top left, you see motor A and B, which was basically left and right for the landing gear, 12 volt in, up limits A and B, limits, and then I had my down limits A and B, receiver, dual servo outputs for the 2 landing gear doors. So here you're seeing it run, and basically I'm just flipping a switch on my transmitter, and it's telling the receiver to send a signal, and it would go down and hit the limits, and once it saw it hit all the limits, it would stop each individual motor. And when I flip the switch up, it would go up. Now keep in mind there was 2 ports on here for servos that did my landing gear doors. So that way when I would flip it down, it would open the door first, and you'll see that in a future video. And when I'd flip it the opposite direction, the door would close as the gear went up, vice versa. So this was just a really, really slick setup, everybody. It worked perfect. I've got a lot more videos coming on the testing of this system, and you'll see those soon. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a rocking day and be safe. Take care. Bye-bye.